Okay, for this next video, I'm going to work on the areas around the mouth and the lips. As you can see, still haven't quite finished the areas around the eyes. So I'm going to start off by erasing my grid in this area, because I do not want it to get in the way. Put that all on my phone. Okay. Try not to use your hand to wipe your eraser shavings away. Either use like a paper towel very gently, or a cloth, or blow them away. Just don't spit on your project. Okay. So, let's get these out of the way. Remember to have your kneadable eraser, your regular eraser, your blending stumps, both sizes, and your 6B pencil. So for the lips, the biggest mistake that I see people make is a lot of students will outline the lips really dark with the pencil, and then your person will look like they have a lot of like lip liner on really thick, and it's really hard to blend that in. So to avoid that, we're really going to pay attention to where the shadows are, and we're going to draw a lot with the blending stuff and less with our pencil. So for my picture, he has very thin lips, and most of the shadows are right here in the center, right where the lips meet. So what I'm going to do is I am going to kind of trace over that line a little bit in the center. Very lightly. I'm not really putting any pressure on the pencil. I'm letting the pencil do the work because it's already a really dark graphite. It doesn't really need much work from me. So I'm being very gentle and light. Alright, next I'm going to take my pencil and on my scratch piece of paper, if you guys have scratch paper, this will help. I just make a little dirty smudge. And then I'm going to start with the darkest areas first and kind of work my way out. So I'm kind of trying to blend with a little bit of a curve because our lips, even really, really thin lips, have a little bit of curves to them. So I'm trying to go from the center down on the bottom lip. Try not to go like sideways. So I'm dragging the pencil down. So I'm going along the line sideways, but that's just because I want to keep it like a thinner line. Now, the lips, they do not have like this hard outline. They're just a darker color skin tone for on my person. Your person might be different, especially if they're wearing makeup. If they're wearing like a really soft, lighter makeup, they might look like a similar or lighter shade than their surrounding skin tone. My person, his lips are a little bit darker than his surrounding skin tone. I'm just going to go a little bit sideways right here on this underline. And then I'm going to kind of do the same thing for the top. I'm going to kind of blend upwards. Pay attention to where you have more shadows. Okay, now I'm going to come in here with my kneadable. I'm going to kind of clean up some areas that went a little too far. All I'm doing is I kind of made it to a little point and I'm like dabbing. So I'm just kind of tapping it. You can kind of rub it a little bit in some areas. So for my particular person, he does have this like highlight right here. And then he does have some highlights underneath. And these will show up a bit more once we kind of shade the chin. Now also, even though it's not really, you can't really see these details in the picture, I'm going to add some little lines. So I'm using the point, but I'm not putting a lot of pressure because I don't want to damage the tip of my blending stump. And I'm adding some little lines, and you can do this with your pencil as well. There's a lot of tutorials out there on lips, drawing like where you get like these little crease marks and stuff in them. The problem with like art images is most of the time you can't see these. So you're trying to draw something that you don't see. So you don't want to overdo it. So I'm going to go in there and soften them up a little bit. And then even using your kneadable, we can draw some little white lines too that are like highlights. As you see, I just keep going back and forth between shading, working with the eraser. For the area around the mouth, you're just going to use your blending stump and kind of start shading in small circles like we did around the eyes. Pay attention to where you have your shadows. You can use the larger blending stump for areas down here because we're starting to get into larger areas of skin. Make sure that you keep doing small little circles. You can even change it up from small circles to big circles. This will help keep the picture from looking like blotchy and spotty. So I'm just going to kind of keep doing circles. If you keep going over areas, it'll help smooth it out because we don't want our person to look like they have a splotchy face. See, when you're working on this stuff, you can kind of come back up in here. I know I need to fix some areas up here, and I will eventually. So if you guys notice, I'm barely using my pencil on the actual artwork at all. It's a little blotchy here. I forgot to check. It's got this little chin crease here. So you can make some pretty dark lines just with this. Now it's always easier to go back and darken something up than it is to lighten it. So I know I need to darken the shadows up around his eyes quite a bit, and I will come back and do those, but it's always easier to darken things up than it is to lighten. So it's okay to kind of start out a little lighter and then gradually go darker and darker. Plus, as you're working, you can kind of see what areas need to be darker, what areas need to be lighter the more you get done. So now that I've got this area kind of around his mouth, I'm going to once again use my kneadable, and I'm going to kind of create this bottom line of his lip. Because if you notice, there's a highlight right there, and that's pretty much what creates the lines of his lips. So it's not like a dark line, like a pencil line. It's actually a highlight, so, and erase the line. If you go too much, you can always go back in. And so that's basically how you would work on the lips. So you would keep working. I'll probably come in here and darken some shadows up in these areas a little bit, darken up the crease a little bit more. It does need to be darker. So I'm going to go ahead and darken that up. And then kind of this area. So now that I've got most of it kind of laid out, like I said, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to darken up this shadowed area here in the crease, a little bit on this side. And then I'll just keep coming down and finish out the chin. Pay attention to your highlights that you have, all right, and the shadowed areas as well. So I'm going to kind of work on the chin area a little bit off camera. Then I will do, the next video will kind of show more of like the shading of the cheeks going up, okay? So you just keep following this down on the chin. If your person, my person does not, well, he has a neck, but it's not a lot, you can start shading their neck. If their shoulders and chest are kind of there, you can shade that area as well. So you kind of work your way down. Don't worry about clothing. We'll do clothing towards the end, especially if you have hair covering the clothing. Don't worry about the clothing yet. So just do the areas around the chin, around the mouth, and then the neck area. And then we will go up and start doing the forehead. So pay attention to your photo, always. This is a little low. Sorry.